We begin with a simple truth. The American housing market is not a market. It is an extraction engine. It is not designed to house people. It is designed to capture them. Every brick, every mortgage, every line of credit stapled to someone's future is a quiet theft disguised as necessity. And the reason this continues unchallenged is because most people have forgotten that civilization can be designed differently. That is what the Minnesota Housing Sovereignty Act exists to remind us of. It is not a bill, not yet. It is not law. It is a conceptual weapon, a mirror held to the face of the so-called market asking plainly, why do we accept this? Let's start with the Sovereign Design Studio. In this vision, housing is not priced according to speculation, scarcity, or profit, but according to the labor and material embedded within it. It severs the artificial umbilical cord tying shelter to profit, returning it to its proper place as a right of being alive. We're not talking about communes. We're talking about homes, real ones, designed to be owned and stewarded by the individual or family who lives there. Modular, efficient, and beautiful, rooted in science and human dignity, not bottom lines. So what does that mean in numbers? The MNHSA anchors monthly housing cost to no more than 25% of a person's income, capped permanently. But here's where that comes alive. For any home priced at or below $110,000, the emergent ceiling of sovereign home design, monthly payments will never exceed $600. And in most cases, they'll be far less. A $63,000 two-bedroom sovereign home, for example, can carry a monthly cost of roughly $350. That's not rent. That's lease-to-own equity. And $350 a month is affordable even below the federal poverty line. At 25% of income, that figure represents a monthly income of just $1,400, a level of affordability that, under this model, includes workers most markets long ago abandoned. Why $110,000 is the upper limit? Because that is where the line lives between public dignity and private indulgence. The state guarantees liberty, not luxury. Every person deserves a permanent, safe, beautiful home, but no one is entitled to a taxpayer-subsidized palace. You want a custom, high-end, multi-garage sovereign estate? Fine, build it. But understand that once a structure crosses the $110,000 line, it exits the civic covenant. It becomes private luxury, not a public good. And thus, it is not bound to the 25% cap. You may still live sovereignly, but not subsidized. This isn't about punishment. It's about proportion. The MNHSA doesn't suppress aspiration. It severs it from exploitation. So yes, if you opt for a mega mansion, expect to pay 40% or more of your income. But even then, without mortgages, interest, and speculation, the total cost is still drastically below the capitalist equivalent. The market has conned people into believing they must bleed to live. The sovereign home says otherwise. And because the Sovereign Design Studio centers manufacturing efficiencies, low-impact materials, and civilizational scale replication, most homes, yes, even large family dwellings, should remain well below that $110,000 threshold. A 3-bedroom may land in the $80,000 to $85,000 range. A 5-bedroom could begin as low as $100,000 to $105,000. These are not fantasies. These are what happen when parasites are removed from the equation. Let me be clear that this isn't too good to be true. It's simply what housing costs when it's not designed to extract. Now, contrast this with the current housing market in Minnesota. A basic 1-bedroom apartment, rented, not owned, runs $1,200 a month. A modest starter home, somewhere between $275,000 and $325,000, depending on zip code. That's a $1,800 mortgage before taxes, insurance, or repairs. For most households, that's 40 to 50% of monthly income, often for decades. They'll pay 2 or 3 times the original price, not because the house demands it, but because the system does. So why do sovereign homes land under that $110,000 line? Because without developer margins, realtor commissions, interest gouging, zoning manipulation, and speculative markup, there is nothing left but the actual cost of shelter. You pay for a home, not for a scam. And with costs capped at 25% of income, most buyers, especially working class or median income earners, won't even come close to hitting that ceiling. For many, housing costs under MNHSA will feel like rent from the 1990s. Not because time rewound, but because we stopped worshiping the market and started building something better. This is Enlightenment socialism in practice. Not redistribution through the tax code, but redesign at the root. Enlightenment means constructing society to serve the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness for all, not just the landed few. Socialism means the people own the means of production. In housing, that means the factory, the land, the blueprint, the tools, the network, and the damn home itself, all in the hands of the people who live in it. No more slumlords, no more hedge funds treating shelter as poker chips, no more NIMBY chokeholds, no more bidding wars, no more families losing to investors who've never been to Minnesota. The sovereign home doesn't compete with the housing market. It replaces it. It renders it obsolete. Some will ask, where's the profit? How will investors be incentivized? To which the answer is simple. You've mistaken civilization for a casino. Civilization is not built to produce profit. It is built to produce freedom. If your social model depends on someone else losing their home so you can gain your third, that's not freedom. That's conquest. So what happens when we flip the table? We root housing in dignity, in permanence, in predictability. We give every person, not just the wealthy, not just the qualified, a real chance at sovereignty. Not the illusion of choice between overpriced rentals, but the reality of ownership. And because we begin with shared infrastructure, shared standards, and automated pipelines, the cost of that sovereignty is no longer your life's labor. It's a fraction of it. That's the revolution. Because once housing is secured, everything else shifts. Mental health stabilizes, crime drops, entrepreneurship spikes, families reform, art emerges, children dream, adults breathe, wages no longer vanish into someone else's portfolio. Generational wealth becomes not a myth, but a baseline. The MNHSA isn't just about homes. It's about the reclamation of civilization. It's the end of the housing scam and the beginning of something worthy of the word future. That's the choice in front of us. Sovereign home or serfdom. There is no middle ground. Either we build for life or we continue to auction it to the highest bidder. And when the dust clears, the real estate market won't be missed.